Well, welcome. I'm Tim, the lab tech. I'm here to explain how to hand thread pipe, may it be black pipe, galvanized pipe, or IMC pipe for those students that are in electrical. This is a hand threader. This is the first part of the exercise that you're going to do. The second part of the exercise is using a power threader. During the hand exercise portion of it, you will probably either do it right here where we're at, or you're going to go outside depending on the conditions inside the classroom at the time. This is the most common use of cutting pipe. It's great when you have to do one or two pieces, but when you have to do a majority of cuts, you want to go with the power threader, but you're going to have experience on both of them. So today, this pipe threader can be used from a 1/8 of an inch pipe up to 5 inches. In this classroom, we're only doing 1/2 inch pipe. May it be IMC, may it be black pipe or galvanized pipe. We just are trying to get you to understand how to use the machine correctly. So please pay attention, because this equipment is not cheap, and if you screw something up, it's going to cost us big money to get it replaced. So be careful with this stuff, and always, always, always be careful about the tools. They're not light, and be cautious with them. If you're not using them, put them in the place where I show you where to put them. Now, you'll notice when you pull this out, it's going to be chained up just like this. And you just want to unhook the clasp and let that drop. The legs will come out gradually, and you just want to keep your hands away from this so it doesn't pinch you. Just let it drop into place. And for safety reasons, sometimes this still stays popped up in the upright position, like if it was in unlocked position. If you want to lock it, just put your foot down on it, all right? And it locks it in place, and you don't have to worry about pinching your fingers. Now, on the hand threader, you should be wearing gloves. On the power threader, you will not be wearing gloves. So be aware of that. Remember, you're dealing with steel. It has a lot of different little entities to it, and it will hurt you real easy. Let me explain something about this stand. This stand is universal. You'll see it on job sites all the time. When you look down at the three prong legs, you'll see that there's a little hole in the middle of them. All right? That little hole right down here is typically used with a lag screw and secures to the work site, whatever they may be working on, because this isn't going to move as often. Otherwise, if it's inside the house, let's say, and you're working on gas lines or electrical piping or whatever it might be, this molly right here is used with another piece of pipe that has a flat surface on it that you can attach it to a rafter. So then when you tighten this up, it pushes this down on the floor, and you don't have to nail it into the floor or anything of the house. So that's the purpose of this molly. Over here we have our crank handle. You'll notice that it has a chain. We'll do all the maintenance on this stuff, so you don't need to worry about it, but you do want to keep this lubricated with a non-sticky film. You always have your pipe. Again, this is only made for 1/2 inch right at the time in the classroom as we're using it, but again, you can use larger pipe. Your purpose of this exercise is to learn how to use each part of this piece of equipment. So therefore, we try to get you to use the whole tool. You see where this is a back support, front support. You want the clearance out here on the side, out to the front of you, give or take 6 to 8 inches. It gives you room to work. You don't have to manhandle anything. You drop the chain over the element, in this case 1/2 inch black pipe, iron pipe, and there's a locking division mechanism right here. As you tighten this up, it'll start to firm up on you. Just pull up on it so it's firm. You don't have to sit there and muscle man it till you snap the chain link. All right, just be sure that it isn't going anywhere, it doesn't turn, it's secured in there. Now, this is the initial setup for hand threading. The next step that you're going to do, and it really doesn't matter if there's threads on this or not, because I don't know, whatever the student was before you may have already cut that off and didn't have any threads on it, or whatever the circumstances is. If it has threads on it or not, you're going to end up cutting about 1.5 inches or 2 inches off of the piece right away. To do that, and you notice that my tools are down on the ground here. Don't set them up on our power tools. Always keep them on the ground until I show you where to store them on the unit itself. Most of you are familiar with the pipe cutter. The pipe cutter is a really useful tool. It beats using a hacksaw or a sawzall or a bandsaw blade. But the thing about this is you keep it out of the dirt, you keep the blade clean, everything is well lubricated, and it will work for you. This is just like when you're doing copper tubing. It's just heavier steel and designed better. The thing about this pipe cutter is, though, your pipe has to fit in that saddle right here. Don't bring it all the way to the back. It has to be sitting in the saddle. So you set it, you crank this back, and you notice where I have it. I got it in the saddle, in between the two rollers. Now I tighten it up, front seat it, and I just put enough pressure on it so that the blade makes contact with my metal. And I rotate it up to where it's comfortable. Then I take my oil can and I put a little bit of oil on top of it. Now remember, more oil, great, but it's more oil that you're going to clean up. So be careful with it. Now I always want to go clockwise with myself. So now I have my pipe oiled down. It's locked into position. I turn it 100 or 360 degrees. I do another 360 degrees. I turn it 90 degrees. All right, you don't see me trying to do this in one cut. Again, holding the tool, 1 360, 2 360s, another 90-degree turn. I continue this process until such time as the pipe comes off on its own. Don't force it. Keep rotating it. You notice again where my bar is sitting versus my rollers. Okay, and it's making a nice clean cut. It's still lubricated. When you're doing it by hand, you don't have to put as much oil into it. But be careful when you're rotating it around, because these edges are razor sharp. They will slice you in a heartbeat if you're not paying attention to what you're doing. So 2 360s, tighten it 90 degrees. 2 360s, 90 degrees. And you notice I didn't force it, I just let it drop. When you're done with this tool, just set it on your plate. Call it a day with that. You don't want to drop it in the dirt, get it dirty, anything else. Now you have a nice clean squared off end. What you need to do now is, there's 2 deburring operations, one on the outside, one on the inside. You take your, it could be either a bastard file, it could be a single cut or a double cut file, depending on what's available at the time. Hold it with the shank in the front and just gently go over the front of it. You don't have to dig into it. You're just trying to gnaw off any metal that may have got caught up as an edge on that, because it will affect your cutting. Now that takes care of the outside. Again, put your tool on your table there, and now you're going to pick up what is known as the reamer. Now this is a ratchet reamer. All right, it can do up to 2-inch pipe. You notice that there's a rotating handle here. This is for your hand to go on there. This can go either counterclockwise or clockwise, just depending on how you set the ratchet. And you get a feel for that when you work in it, but you can see how that clicks into place. What I'm going to do is round out the inside a little bit. The thing about using this tool and 1/2 inch material for reaming, it doesn't take a great deal of pressure to do that. If you put too much pressure in there, you're going to start cutting way deep in there. You don't want that to happen. It gives you another set of problems that now you got to remove that wire and you're going to have to recut it. So what you want to do, and you're just going to learn from practice, is to slide it in until it makes contact, ratchet up, and twist it. Don't put a lot of pressure on it. You just want to kind of clean it up, okay, and deburr it. Okay. Again, you can set this inside the tray or on the item here. But then you notice that you'll have some burrs back here. Again, go back, shave them off. When you're working with 1/2 inch, it's much harder, trust me. 3/4, 1 inch, stuff like that, it doesn't bite into it as hard. I don't know why that is. It just does it. When you're doing the power threader, it doesn't matter. It doesn't cut into it like this hand threader does, or the hand reamer, excuse me. Now, my final tool. Now I'm ready to cut threads. This handle right here is a multi-purpose handle. It will cut 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 1 inch. It has all 3 bits in it. Ridgid makes several different copies. It doesn't matter which Ridgid equipment you get. They all basically work the same way if you got a little bit of mechanical skill to you. The thing is people don't pay attention of how to use this tool. You're going to see written down here 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 3/4. Select the pipe, and in this case we got 1/2 inch. I want to find my 1/2 inch hole, and I'm going to send my pipe through this end to my cutting threads, which are also marked 1/2 inch. All right? Do not go put it on this way. You must slide it, find your 1/2 inch hole, and slide it up into it. Now the big thing is to be sure that you're up and seated up in there. And you notice how I'm using my palm to set that into place. Now what I first want to do is be sure my handles are tight. I'm in the right position. Now in the classroom, this table may move a little bit. There's certain things we can do and certain things we can't do. But you shouldn't have a great deal of problem with this. But if you do, take one of your lead legs and hold it up against the leg here at one of the ones that you're working with next to it. And that kind of holds it in place. Then you take your palm and double check to be sure that you're inserted so that when you're looking down through the tube, you can see that all 4 bits are on the teeth, are on the pipe itself. Now, using your palm to hold it in place, gently start turning the handle. Put a little bit of pressure, and you're going to notice that it's going to grab. So now, it has started grabbing, and you'll be able to know that. If it doesn't grab right away, get somebody to help you out. Sometimes it does slide around on the floor. Outside it isn't too bad because we have the asphalt there. But in the classroom it's smooth texture. It has a tendency of moving around sometimes. But all my teeth are grabbing. Again, I go back to my oil can because now my oil can needs to be operational here. I rotate it until I can see the top of my threads being cut. And I just put oil on top of it. Don't be lax in the oil situation. And of course, be sure that we have rags and we have paper and everything. Put that down on your floor before you start so that you don't have to do as much cleanup. Now I do not need to hold the center because the threads are already cutting into it. What you must understand is every time I'm rotating this, you have to put some more oil in there, because whenever you're doing threads on steel, you're heating up that process. So I can either be bent down and I rotate it 360 degrees. When I rotate it 360 degrees, I must back it off until I feel that loose metal break off. All right? You don't want to just keep rotating it all the way in, because you're not getting rid of the shavings and it will damage the threads. So 360, back it off until it drops out the shavings. Add some more oil. Another 360. Back it off. Add more oil. So you notice that you're getting into a rhythm here. 360, back it off, clean it out. More oil. Again, 360, back it up, clean it out. Rotate it until I get a point where I can add more oil. Another 360. Now, as you notice, I'm coming up to the front of my teeth down here. I want to go until the pipe reaches that front tooth. So I stop it, put more oil on there. Don't worry, Exxon is making it by the gallons. All right, back it off. And I think I got probably one more thread to turn here. And this is where you want to end up at. When you're looking at it, this is where your cutting teeth are versus where your threads are. That's the end of the pipe. That's all you have to cut. Then back it off. Now just take your time. Don't be spinning it like it's a socket or something off a tire, because it's going to come to a point where it's going to slide off. Remove it nice and gently, straightforward. Put away your tool so it's out of the way. Look at your threads. And to pass this exercise, each step must be completed as I just explained to you. On top of that, your threads must be cleaned. No broken threads, you got to redo it. All right? This is vital because if you're putting in gas line, electrical piping, whatever, it has to meet that code. Now later on you'll be explained on how to put that dope on it for security purposes, the tape and everything else. But for right now, that's how you do the threads with the manual or handheld threader. Now, 1/2 inch is pretty easy, 3/4 and 1 inch. It's going to make it a busy day. Now, when you are done with this, you're going to take it all apart. There's a paintbrush that you're going to use to clean out the inside the best that you can and wipe it down with the rag, wipe down the handles, and you're going to put away all the tools in the appropriate place in the tool crib. They'll be marked for you, and you shouldn't have any problem, but if you do, just let us know. Always be sure that the handles are tight also when you're done, so the next student that picks it up doesn't have an accident with it accidentally. When you're all done, release your pipe, undo the chain, and again, look at your threads, check them out, be sure that everything's good to go on them. All right, nice and clean, no broken spots. And then show this to the instructor, lab tech. We'll tell you if you get a go or no go. and you can continue on with the power threader. Just understand, if you don't understand how to use this or the power threader, come get somebody. They'll show you, re-explain it to you, but if you still don't understand, you may need to go back to that videotape. All right? This is one of the tools that if you're in the HVAC business or the electrical or plumbing, you are going to use this all the time. So be aware of how to use it, and the equipment will work great for you. At this time, that ends this portion of the exercise. Go out, perform the exercise in the lab, then come back and watch the second half that's dealing with the power threader, so that's fresh in your memory. The last thing we want to do is ruin any of the equipment. So think before you do something, please. And then, of course, always have the area checked out by the lab tech or instructor that you cleaned up, mopped it, secured it so nobody else gets hurt. Thank you.